Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes React. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
Together we are the Office Blokes.
You just said something to me. It's just fun. It was just funny. That it was a funny comment.
Well, there we go. No one will ever know. It was horrifically misogynistic, racist. What else was it?
He said I used 2 pieces of sellotape.
Yeah, that's literally all I said.
That's all you need to know.
That's all I said.
His smile's been there permanently since.
Right then, 25 common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true.
Okay.
I wonder how many of them we would actually believe, having done some research over the past few years with videos like this.
No one has a passport.
Yeah. Misconceptions.
You don't need a passport to fly domestically, do you?
No.
In the States.
No.
So I presume a lot of people probably don't have a passport.
I imagine a lot of them do.
I don't have one.
No.
Need one to go anywhere, really. For
I've
us,
always got one.
just in case.
Quick getaway.
Got to go on the lam.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I wonder if there's going to be the typical. They always talk about tax being added to prices
In shops.
but maybe that's not true in all states, or I don't know. Let's check it out.
Yeah.
25
We'll see.
common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true. Let's do it.
Get loud.
The United States often draws a lot of flack from the rest of the world for everything. From its foreign policy to the way it runs its domestic affairs. In fact, it seems like there are few things that can divide the world more evenly and more strongly than asking people what their opinion is of the United States. Everyone has an opinion. Even in the same city, you'll meet people who fall on the extreme sides of the spectrum. But what is it exactly that causes America to be so messed up? Even America's own politicians can't seem to stop talking about how messed up things are. Well, today we're going to take a deeper look. Are things really as bad as everyone seems to think they are? I'm Mike with List 25, and these are 25 common misconceptions about the United States that simply aren't true. And as a very important note, this list was produced by both a United States citizen and 2 European citizens that relocated to the United States. It's written to be as fair as possible.
That depends entirely on where in Europe they're from.
Yeah.
It's about misconceptions of the USA, isn't it? So
Yeah, no.
Could be that everyone owns a gun.
Ooh,
That could
that's
be one
probably a good one.
misconception, maybe.
Yeah. There are more guns than people.
Yeah.
I think there's something like 400 million guns or
Yeah,
something.
everyone's got like 300 each, haven't they?
I think
Everyone's Johnny Rambo, aren't they?
Yeah, they don't just have one, do they, a lot of these people?
Well,
They
you
have a-
wouldn't,
a
would
big
you?
raft of them.
You can't just have one.
Yeah.
No, it's not happening.
Yeah.
We own more footballs and guns.
Probably, yeah.
We've got quite a lot. I think we've got something like 2 million guns in this. Privately owned, 2 or 3 million.
That many? Wow.
Something like that, yeah.
I thought it'd be more than that.
Really? I thought that's quite a lot, that.
Yeah,
That's 60 odd
Wow.
million.
Yeah.
vast majority of people don't shoot, so everyone that does
Yeah,
has
yeah.
got 15.
Got a few.
Lots of people just fire blanks,
But they
don't
got-
they?
Yeah.
No, that I'm not 2 Europeans. Or am I?
No, you're not.
All right, let's begin with a really common thought. Americans are ignorant about the world. Americans are held to an unrealistic standard. Since the rest of the world watch our movies and listen to our music, they know a lot about our country. But let's be honest, they never studied it. People actually complain that Americans don't even know that Czechoslovakia doesn't exist anymore. But neither does half the United Kingdom, and they're on the same continent. It turns out that all of us are pretty bad at geography. You'd think America would be better at it, however, considering another common thought is that America spends its day spying on everyone. And that's true, but who doesn't? Germany, France, Switzerland, Japan, Iceland, and all the rest of us spy on each other and ourselves. Moving on, America has been called racist. Please don't take this the wrong way. Racism definitely exists, and it makes the news. But you know what else? America also has a vicious media, and all of the world watches it, sometimes more than their own media. So when something super bad happens in other countries, it might not even make the back page. Next, it's a common
There's countries that are so much more racist than America, and
Yeah.
there's certain European countries
There's a lot
that
of
are
Eastern European-
horrifically
A lot of
racist.
Eastern European countries are
Yeah.
pretty bad, I think.
Did you see the guy who's going to be? They touted him to be the next prime minister or is it prime minister or president of South Africa?
President, I think, isn't it?
I've heard him.
Have you heard him? Oh yeah, about the white people.
Yeah.
It's not good, is it?
No.
Not good to be over there.
No.
You'd want out there if you were white.
I've not heard that.
A lot of Ash's family live in South Africa
They do.
because they fled Zimbabwe to
Are they
go to
white?
South Africa. Yeah, they're white.
I was going to
Fled
say,
Zimbabwe
it's a
to
bit
go
like
to
a
South
Zimbabwe
Africa.
situation, is it?
So I think there'll be some family members coming over to the UK at some point.
I'd be doing it now. I'd say it'd be time to get out there. From what the words he was saying yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before? He said it was recently, wasn't it?
I've heard stuff weeks ago that I was told about. I've not heard any of the recent stuff, but it's taking the lands back from.
He's kind of saying
Really?
It's
his
Mugabe
words of it, he
2.0,
needs
isn't it?
Yeah, it's 4 million white people need to be gone.
Really?
Yeah, the
That's kind
country's
of what he's saying, and he
it's
can't
falling apart. The
can't-
country, though,
can't,
isn't it?
Can't sort of like guarantee their safety and things like that.
Wow.
Needs a new what did he say? A new can't remember what the words he used was now. I don't want to repeat it because in case it's the wrong words he used.
Yeah,
But he said, he's a revolution type thing.
Regime
Yeah,
now.
no new revolution.
I'd argue that's quite a racist country.
Oh, big time, big time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Misconception that Americans don't use public transport. While it's true that we use cars a lot, many regions in America have great public transport, or at least just as good as Europe. Besides, what good is a train if nobody can afford it? We're looking at you, UK. Moving on.
right.
America does /has/is fill in the blank. America is far from being a unified entity. Each state has its own laws, cultures, and quirks. Some states have the death penalty. Some don't. Some have strict gun laws, and some don't. Some have free college. Some don't. Some have tax, and yeah, some don't. So just like you can't say Europe is so-and-so, you can't say the same about the US. As an additional note, the states are far more independent than many of us realize.
I always find that when he kind of alluded to a little bit there, the way he said it, like it's almost like as if everyone's competing against each other. I've never looked at it in that way, like it's a competition of, we have this in America, you don't have that in the UK. I'm like,
Yeah.
asked.
No, I'm just bothered with what we've got over here.
I'm not even the stuff we don't have over here. They have in the USA, and I think great.
Yeah.
I'll go to the USA and do it. Or the stuff that they have in Singapore we don't have over here, and I'll go to Singapore and do it.
I think once you get past that surface level banter of taking the mickey out of sausage rolls and things
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
then like when you actually get into it, I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bit of light-hearted jabs about.
Yeah, certain countries have certain things because of cultural issues or
Yeah.
because of that's just the way you brought up or that's the type of thing that country likes. You know,
But the perception of things is the way, there's many people who are seeing comments on the channel here about, like about British people, and I'm like, yeah, we're all called John and we all know each other. And we all walk around with bowler hats on, and, forget these 60 odd million people that live over here. You know what I mean? It's in a small little place. It's, someone commented the other day about one of the videos and said something like, they don't understand because it's not a big city. And I'm like, and they compared it to another city. And the population of Manchester compared to the population of Miami and the cities themselves, Manchester's bigger.
is it? Yeah,
There's 500,000 people live in Manchester, 400,000 live in Miami.
Wow.
In the city.
yeah,
Yeah.
If you look at the metro area,
Yeah.
Greater Manchester and Greater, it's the massive. They're in the millions, both of them.
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you actually look at the actual city, but Manchester is a big city.
It is. Yeah.
I think there's this thing where people don't want to celebrate differences in culture as much anymore. Everything's
I
got
don't
to
see
be.
it as a competition. I'm not asked.
Well, a lot of people seem to, though.
I'd go and embrace your culture wherever you're from.
Well, that's
Yeah.
it, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
what people should be doing.
Yeah.
I think that's what most people do, really.
And I do know Czechoslovakia's not a country anymore.
So
And I think we all do.
Yeah.
And I think 90% of Britain do. Right?
yeah.
In fact, every state even has its own military, known as the Guard. Furthermore, some states pass legislation that directly contradicts the federal government. This is because in the US, the federal government is not the highest authority, the states are. To further establish the fact that America isn't a single entity, many believe that Americans only speak one language. But that's no different from the rest of the world. Have you ever been to France, or the UK, or Italy, or how about China? Most of them only speak one language too. That being said, over 20% of the US is by.
Isn't there like 300 languages in China?
So I don't know if there is here, but I was at the football match a few weeks ago, and I walked through, and I must have heard about 7 different accents and languages as I walked through, and I'm like, I'm trying to guess what, I see different football shirts now as well. I don't know if you've seen it at United. I see different football shirts people wearing. I'm like, I stop them and go, what's shirt's that?
Yeah.
And a lot of them just look at me like, I didn't expect to speak to anyone today. I have no idea what you're saying. Walk on.
Bilingual. Now, let's talk about the military, because people outside the U.S. will preach that America's military does, again, fill in the blank. Nobody is naive enough to think that the U.S. doesn't have selfish interests in mind when it invades a country. There isn't a nation on earth that would do that selflessly. But whenever the bad goes down, it's just as common for other countries to complain that America should do something. On a more or less lighter note, Americans are fat. You ever been to the UK lately? There are even scandals because obese patients are getting turned down for surgery. Yes, America does have an obesity problem. But not all citizens are involved in it. I am. A big part of the United States is fairly health conscious and is consistently working to help the overweight population better their lives. Thanks, healthy people. And while we aren't perfect, many complain that America is worse than other developed nations in, well, everything. There are many statistics, child mortality, literacy, etc., where the US falls behind countries like Norway and Iceland. But those statistics are based on averages. In Norway, most of the 5 million inhabitants are rich, white, and Norwegian. If you took a similar sample of rich, white Americans in the US, you would find that the statistics are almost exactly the same. The fact is that the US is hugely diverse, and the American experience is completely different with and without money. Translation? The problem isn't healthcare or education, it's economic inequality, almost exclusively. And speaking of inequality, many make the simple but powerful assumption that America just isn't safe. This is usually what foreign citizens say until they actually come here. By this same logic, Paris, Brussels, London, Madrid, and almost every other city in Europe is unsafe as well. Yes, there are guns, but most Americans have never seen or heard a gun being fired. In fact, most Swiss citizens are much more familiar with gunfire than us Americans. All this being said so far, people still expect all Americans to relish in a life of our stereotypes. Guns, fast food, and freedom! What I'm saying is, a lot of the world looks at America as overly patriotic. But here's an honest question. Have you ever met a Russian, Australian, a proud member of the UK? There's no shame in having pride in your country.
We're not allowed to be proud of being from the UK anymore, are we?
No. Put your flag up in your garden. Your class as being a racist, aren't you?
Supposed to apologise for it.
I don't know if you've seen the one on Withenshaw Road. That guy who's put the Union Jack up in his garden. It's fucking massive.
It is a weird one, isn't it? Like a lot of other countries, it can be like, yeah, we're the best. Someone in the UK says it, and it's like racist, scumbag.
Yeah,
it has gone that way. It's again, I just don't get involved in it. Like, I know I go to football, say what I want.
What about the Crusades? And it's like, wasn't that like 600 years ago?
If you hear someone barking on about something, just go, shut up, you knob. Have a day off.
Tree. Us Americans are definitely patriotic, but so is the rest of the world, as they should be. It's not a crime to be proud of where you came from. But that doesn't stop others from thinking we only complain and boast about America whenever we travel abroad. This is largely anecdotal. In America, Americans like to complain just like the rest of us. Only a few of them ever even leave the country, so you're meeting an unrepresentative sample. But in their defense, many times, they're right. Yes, this can hit hard in the pride spot, but maybe Europeans could stand to smile a bit more, right? No? Okay, fine. Back to the apathetic, leave me alone face. By the way, that part was written for our European representative. By our European representative. I love all of you. Anyways, statistics viewed by outsiders show that the US is lagging behind. Similar to topics we've already discussed, there's another factor that we have to take into account. Reporting. Every nation reports its own statistics. This means that making statistical comparisons between two developed nations, like the US and the UK, is an exercise in futility. The data is just too close and won't reveal much except that the US counts people one way and the US counts them another. That still doesn't make this misconception true. Americans are fake. Here's the thing. In Europe, citizens are almost proud of the fact that they're really standoffish. But once you get to know them, they're your friend for life. Well, here's a newsflash. Once you get to know an American, they'll also be your friend for life. The thing is, though, they don't use this as an excuse to be a jerk in the beginning. This list sounds great coming from an American. I was totally the one who should have read this one, but I digress. On a totally different but very popular misconception, Americans are the only ones who call football soccer. Actually, a lot of the world calls it soccer. Even parts of Ireland still call it soccer. Oh, what do I mean by still? I'm glad you asked. It was actually the British who coined the term soccer. The word soccer is an abbreviation of association and first appeared in universities in the 1880s, sometimes using the variant spelled soccer with a K. The word is sometimes credited to Charles Redford Brown, an Oxford University student said to have been fond of shortened forms such as brekkers for breakfast and rugger for rugby football. Britain actually started using the word football in the late 20th century, possibly because people incorrectly saw it as an Americanism. This next one, Tristan couldn't believe. Could you not?
No.
I'm learning something. To our American viewers, did you know that people in Europe make fun of you for using air conditioning? Why do they need it? Why don't they just leave the window open? Mosquitoes? At least in Florida. But here's why they might be joining us soon. During the 2003 European heatwave, 70,000 people died. This was in large part due to the fact that European homes and buildings are not typically equipped with air conditioning. While they laugh at the Americans for this, hotter summers are going to force them to take appropriate measures.
I've never heard anyone laugh at anyone for having air conditioning.
Neither have I, actually.
Look at you at the right temperature.
Look at you all ice cold over there while I'm sweating my nuts off over here in a boiling hot townhouse next to John, just in your bowler hat in the middle of summer.
Yeah, I've never heard that at all.
No.
I must admit, that's a new one on me.
And I'm one of the biggest football fans you'll meet, and I don't give a shit if you call it soccer, football, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because we watch Soccer AM,
We do.
the Soccer Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I think they're banning fossil fuel heating systems in the UK in 2035, I think it is. So you won't have a gas boiler. You won't have new installations of gas boilers, but the old ones will be fine.
What are they going to use?
There's the heat pumps. There's the ones that go a mile into the ground.
Yeah.
But I think air conditioning, because it can go hot or cold.
Yeah.
And then, more solar and then air conditioning. It'll probably be the norm by 2040 in the UK that everyone has air conditioning.
I've got air conditioning.
I don't really like
and in
it.
the summer, I'm like, whoa, ice cold.
I just don't like
I
it.
sit on the balcony, ice cold. Gets used about. Well, it does get used quite often in our house because I like it cold.
It's just dry, the air. Like, I always get a sore throat if I'm sat under air conditioning.
I think the same with radiators though.
Do you?
Yeah, I think the radiators make it quite dry.
I suppose it's just what
can
you're
do,
used to, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that one will change over the next
But I've
couple
never
of
heard
decades.
anyone saying making fun of the Americans for having air
No,
conditioning.
I've not heard.
Never.
That's a new one on me.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's not
Because I
very
don't think it's
funny.
just the Americans, because the Middle East have it. Only certain parts of Australia that will have it.
Yeah, South America.
Yeah,
I'm
South
guessing,
America would have it. Yeah, I imagine there's a lot of places in the world that we've
Yeah,
tanked up with
of
air
course there will.
conditioning.
Yeah.
Especially since children and the elderly are very susceptible. Again, I stand by mosquitoes. I'm not opening my window in the summer. Winter, absolutely. Open windows. Moving into the top 9. That's the weird number. Top 9. Many parts of the world accuse the United States of accounting for 25% of the world's carbon emissions. Not so nice. But it also accounts for 25% of the world's economic activity. The truth is that several nations, including countries like Canada, have higher per capita emissions than the US. Next, let's talk about how the world thinks Americans are ruining English. Actually, both British English and American English have diverged from a common 16th century ancestral standard, and in some ways, American English is closer to the original than British English. For example, American English has, for the most part, retained the language's rotosity, pronunciation of the R in words like hard, while British has, for the most part, dropped it. Furthermore, this shift in British English happened around the time of the American Revolution, when wealthier Londoners wanted to distinguish themselves from the lower classes. This is only one example, but it goes to show that British English is not an unchanging standard any more than American English. On a totally different note, did you know that Americans don't all live in the suburbs? Nope, not true. The fact is that in America, you have plenty of people that live in cities like New York, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, and the list goes on. In fact, several regions of the United States are very European, like the Northeast Corridor, for example. The difference between the U.S. and Europe is that if you want to live in the suburbs in the U.S., you can, but you don't have to. Now, this next one is just...
I'm not sure what the point was there.
There's a few on here that bypassed me.
Even the language one I wasn't quite sure about changing language.
Innit, fam?
Yeah, no, the English language is being destroyed by people from London at the moment, not people from America. It's horrible the way certain people are talking.
It's the kids, isn't it?
But that thinking that Americans don't live in cities, it's like every sitcom ever is set in New York or Chicago or somewhere
again, that's
where they live in the city.
Yeah.
See, if I ask someone where they live, and this always irks me when I speak to an English person more than anything. But if you said to an American, where do you live, and they lived in a suburb of, say, Chicago, they'd say Chicago.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the closest. You speak to someone from Dorset and ask them where do they live, and they go Dorset. Now, I don't even know where the fuck Dorset is. Do you?
I've got an idea.
Same.
It's South Coast, isn't it? But
that's why I would guess. But do you know if it's South Coast underneath London or South Coast underneath Devon?
I'm not sure. It could
Exactly.
be Brighton, Southampton, Plymouth.
That's
Portsmouth.
Hampshire.
Is it? All right. Well, I don't. That's what I mean. I don't know. It's along there somewhere. But,
Same.
But yeah, you'd have
to... and they say things like, I'm from fucking Warwickshire, and I'm like,
yeah,
where?
It's a county.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to know specifics, don't you?
I want to know what your closest town is.
Yeah, if someone asks me, I always say, if it's abroad, just say Manchester.
Yeah,
probably don't
that's
know.
where you live.
Well, yeah. No, it's a city. No, it's a city. Yeah. I won't say I'm from Timply. Yeah, it's like, what?
Plus, if you said that in America, everyone would be going, Timply. Timply.
Sounds lovely.
Sounds funny, though.
Sounds lovely.
Timply.
We have to say one with an Asian accent.
I'm not going there.
Yeah. It's called Little Timply.
Little Timply. Timply town.
Deary me.
Just offensive. Americans are all dumb rednecks. While there are certainly Americans who fit this stereotype, the vast majority don't. Most Americans live in cities near the coasts. Most of them are educated, and most of them are not very different from Europeans in any...
He looks more Austrian or German or something, doesn't he?
Very Bavarian.
Just some random Bavarian guy making sausages ending up on a video like that.
Significant way. Every country has a less educated populace that they themselves make fun of. Even sophisticated nations like Sweden and Switzerland. Fair warning, the last 5 on our list get a bit dark and crazy, starting with the idea that America is imperialistic. In many parts of Europe, the United States is seen as an aggressive imperial power, even more so than Russia and China. This is largely because our military presence both in Europe and everywhere else. But in our strong defense, Americans never forced you to watch our movies, quarter our soldiers, obey our laws, or get permission to leave your own countries. It was the Russians that did that, and much, much more. Food for thought, after World War II, the Americans liberated and left. The Russians liberated and stayed. All right, number 4 is sure to be a shocker to a lot of foreigners. Americans don't actually all walk around with guns. It's just not true. Except for a few places, the only people you'll ever see carrying guns in America are the police. In fact, you'll see more people walking around with guns in Switzerland than you ever would in America. Okay.
That's not true at all. There's more guns in Switzerland not per capita, but I think they have national service, and then people keep their service rifle at the end of the service.
Yeah.
So it's a heavily armed country, but I don't think you're allowed to walk around carrying guns in Switzerland. I've been and I didn't see a single gun.
You and on me, I didn't think that was the case.
Yeah,
I've been to Switzerland. I've never seen anyone carrying a gun.
No.
Yeah.
So where there may be more guns,
unless it's concealed, of course. But I still find it unlikely in Switzerland. But,
Same.
I don't think it's a very liberal place, Switzerland, isn't it? I just don't think people are walking around with. Yeah. It is, but then like weed's legal in Switzerland. That never gets talked about. It's a very liberal, laid-back place. I find.
Yeah,
that's what happens when you control the world's money, isn't it? You just chill
out.
Well,
exactly.
Yeah, but I don't think people carry guns in Switzerland, so I've got to pick him up on that one.
I've been there, and I've never even thought about it.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't.
So
it just seems like.
But then again, I don't think about guns wherever I go.
No, because like I say, generally you don't see them, do you?
But you would if you saw them.
Police or
So if you saw people,
Yeah, if you saw someone with a gun, you'd be like,
you'd
stand out.
consider it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you'd be like, is that a gun? Because you wouldn't expect it, would you?
True.
Because when I went to Alabama, to that shooting range I went to not long ago, the guy got out of the car and went, is that a gun he's carrying there?
At the shooting range in Alabama.
But he got out of his car. But his gun was on his hip.
Yeah.
And he sort of like, as he got out, it's sort of like his coat come across and he's his jacket, whatever, and he's got the bloody pistol in his holster. And I went, is that a gun?
I think there's a thing in Texas that may be new, or it's just being enforced, or something called constitutional carry, where I think everyone is allowed to carry a gun. I think everyone is allowed.
Guy walking down the street with a big fucking AK-47.
I think it might be.
You can picture that guy.
I think it might be everyone that's allowed to have a gun can concealed carry it, but you can't brandish it in public. No. Or there's something like I heard someone talk about it, but I didn't fully go into.
Could you imagine Saturday night down in the bar, in the pub, about midnight?
But I don't think you can be drunk in charge. Because because my dad, when handguns were legal here, he used to go shooting with all his mates, and they'd all go to the pub after and have the guns on them. And I was like, was that even legal back then?
You said the hell it is.
No one's going to say anything. But it's kind of like it probably wasn't okay then. And I used to say, well, there's no point in carrying a gun. If you're carrying it to defend yourself and you're drunk and you use it, you're going to get in trouble for being drunk and shooting someone. So it kind of becomes obsolete on your hip as soon as you've started drinking, because you can't use it anyway, because you'll get done for being drunk and using a gun. Does that make sense?
Yeah. A bit like you carry your keys around, but you can't drink and drive.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We admit that, like most stereotypes, there is some truth to this next one, but it's been wildly blown out of proportion. Americans are all crazy Christian right-wingers. There's something so right about saying it with that accent. Yes, there are a lot of Christians in America, and while some of them are crazy right-wingers, most of them aren't. In fact, if you ever get a chance to go and stay with one of those crazy Christian families, you'll see that most of them are just genuinely sweet people that go to church on Sundays. This next one sounds like a legit stand-up joke. If you get injured and can't pay for it, you'll just die in the street. Yeah, many people in Europe think this is what happens in America. As with most things that concern America, they're wrong. You can't be denied emergency medical care in the US. That would go against the Hippocratic Oath. The difference is that you get a bill in the mail a few months later. Of course, debt is another issue, but let's get into that right now. Americans are all in debt. Actually, European citizens carry more debt than Americans. The average household debt in the US, OECD, is 113% of the household's income. In the UK, it's 156%. In Sweden, 173%. And in Denmark, it's a whopping 305%. So, what are some misconceptions about the US that you'd like cleared up? Or do you live in America and want to put a stereotype to rest? Let us know in the comments below, or tweet your answer to us at List25. And as an American, I apologize for everything going on right now. Don't worry, 2020 is just around the corner.
Jesus. He had no idea, did he? Things are only going to get better for
Or maybe he did. Maybe he did. It's China's fault now.
Maybe, yeah.
Blame them.
Yeah, 4 years ago. So.
That's it. Oh, wow.
A few of them passed me by. Like I just, I don't know. I've lived there, so it's for me. It's not a misconception, I guess, but what people think.
Yeah.
But people have never said to me like, I mean, I remember, I know the one that it's a dangerous place to go. I've never felt more safe in anywhere probably than I am in the USA.
Depends where you go. It's the same anywhere in the world, isn't it?
If you start walking back streets in any major city and start going off track, you're looking for trouble.
Yeah.
There's also the time you're out. Like if you're somewhere that you're from, you might be out past midnight roaming around the city. If you go on any major city in the world and you start roaming around not knowing where you are past midnight, you pray. Like if you don't,
there's always some weirdo wherever you are.
Yeah, there's people looking for that demographic so they can rob you.
You could be in the nicest place anywhere in the world, and if after a certain time or certain parts of where you're going, you're sitting duck.
Yeah,
and he's always a weirdo. Yeah, there's always one weirdo in them areas.
There's always. Without a doubt.
Opportunist weirdo.
Yeah, I think the debt one's interesting because I think
that never occurred to me either. That one, that's never been my thoughts at all.
I've heard that one before. That everything's on credit in the States, so everyone just buys on credit and then can't afford to pay it back. But I think people do that all over the place. Credit cards are rife everywhere.
we use a credit card to pay everything here for us, but only purely based on the rewards you get from the card, and then just pay the card off. Otherwise, if we pay it through another factor, the rewards ain't as good as doing it through the credit card.
And you get protection on transactions on a credit card.
So there's a reason we do it that way from our perspective, from our family.
Yeah.
But that's not. It doesn't necessarily mean it's not being paid back or it's not a debt.
Of course, it helps your credit rating if you have got credit cards over here. But if you are paying them off, it helps your credit rating, which means if you do need credit, you can get it.
Yeah, when I first went to the USA, I think I had to buy like a prepaid credit card to get me rating,
just to
get
build
me credit,
it up.
to get me credit going. Because everyone kept looking at it and going like, I can't find anything on you. I'm like, no, because you've got no credit. I'm not going to give you any credit. So you couldn't get credit because you didn't have any credit.
Yeah.
So I had to buy like a prepaid card and sort of like spend everything on it to the max, and then pay it off, and then spend everything on it, and just load up, kept loading it up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it's these ways around. It's probably just a different culture of how you do. People might do it for the same reasons. They might have store credit cards where they sort of like they get discount at the store, and you get things from the store you buy from, whether it be a grocery store or whatever.
Yeah.
But I know certain cards we use, we get bonuses, and it pays for certain things that you as a bonus.
Yeah.
So you're like, take that.
I think what he's alluding to about America being so big and vast and full of so many different cultures is completely true as well, though. So, like, most intelligent people don't think that there's one demographic in America that are all, it's all gun-toting rednecks or it's all, like, liberal tech types.
I think a lot of people are aware as well that they have their own rules and regulations as well, because certainly through, like, penal punishment and things like that, death penalty.
That sounds awful, Mike.
Everyone knows.
Punching around the balls.
That's that club we went to last night, me and Dave.
You're supposed to talk about
Blue
that,
oyster.
Mike.
Two pieces of sellotape.
You stuck together with it? Was it just massively long? It was wrapped around you about 40 times. Both stood there. Oh shit! What are we doing now?
And the sellotape was as well. But anyway, that's
We
I forgot what I was saying now.
just leave it at that. I think that's fair.
Yeah. No, like death penalty. I think we know that in certain states they have it and some don't, and they have different types of it as well. So
I thought you were doing a death penalty then, and you were signing when we were talking.
There's loads of things, but I think conceptions nowadays. If you've got that conception, go and try it. I always say, go and try the different cultures. And I found out the other day. I was in a restaurant the other day, and there's the guy. I actually know the guy, right? And I know he's from Venezuela. So I'm saying to him, "How do you meet other Venezuelans?" Or do you want to meet other Venezuelans while you're here? Because he only come over 5 years ago from Venezuela, and he didn't speak any English, and now he's fluent, right? And I said, "How did you learn how to speak English? Did you have lessons?" And he went, "No, I just picked it up from watching TV and talking to people and different things." So I said, "Do you want to meet other Venezuelans while you're here?" He went, "There's a massive community in Manchester of Venezuelans." I went, "What?"
Wow.
And he went, "Yeah." He said, "There's a few 100,000.
Really?
And I went, "That many?" I said, "I've never met one."
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I realised, I went, "Do you know what? I know 3 already. I can tell you 3.
Yeah.
And he went, "You know 3 Venezuelans?" I went, "Yeah." I said, "You know what?" He went, "Vito's my brother."
No.
And I said, "I thought he was Italian." He went, "No, we're all Venezuelan, but we're born to Italian parents."
Wow.
And I'm like, "Fucking hell." Yeah. And the other girl I knew, who's Venezuelan, was his wife.
Wow.
Oh, dear.
I was like, wow, you're all related. I just knew him in different concepts.
There's people that Ash works with that are Zimbabwean.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and she just randomly, she heard someone speaking Shona, which is like the language from the bit of Zimbabwe she's from, and she went up and spoke back to her in Shona, and then they were like, "No way!" But there's a few, and it's like these communities. There's communities everywhere, isn't there, of all types.
Yeah, when you dig deep into it, and you find out like these different about Venezuelan. How many Venezuelans have you met since you've been here? Since over here, you mean?
That I'm aware of, none.
No, yeah, you don't meet many, do you?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Don't meet any.
Well, when you play football, you tend to meet different nationalities as well, because people turn up, play football, from footballing nations, and Venezuela's like a football nation. Yeah. But you just, it's bizarre.
Wow.
Small world.
Fair play.
Yeah, just a bit.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.